Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to more WCBN sports coverage of Michigan volleyball today, live from Chrysler Center. We got a Big Ten matchup for you all today. The Michigan Wolverines facing off at home against the number 9 nationally ranked Ohio State Buckeyes. My name is Charlie Brigham. Alongside me, Nabeel Baig, and then later Ryan Dolson. And it should be a good night. Nabeel, how you doing today?
I'm so happy. It's Halloween weekend over here. You know, we're just chilling inside Chrysler Center with this close to sellout crowd, is what I'm going to call it. Sellout crowd because of all the blue chairs. It's a blue out, so technically it's a sellout. So, yeah, it's pretty hyped up in here. Again, Michigan against their arch rival in any sport, Ohio State. And we'll look to see whether Michigan can take down number 9 this evening.
Fans still filing in here as both teams take the floor. Michigan in the all blue today. Libero, Maddie Dowd in the number 9. Over on Ohio State, or Hannah Grant rather. Over on the other side, Ohio State in all red to start. Red tops, black shorts. Libero. Number 6, Kylie Murray in the white top. If you can hear the music in the background, let's get down to business. And Nabeel, I think it's just about time for that.
Some Tiesto in here. You know, we love some electronic dance music kind of beats. I don't know if that's electronic dance music. I think it is. I'd like to call it that. Anyways, we're definitely very excited this evening to be here.
To start for the Wolverines, it's going to be Paige Jones, May Pertofsky, Jess Robinson, Jess Merzick, Scotty Johnson, and Hannah Grant.
A little bit of a new lineup for Michigan. No Jackie Bonney in there early.
It'll be Merzick to serve to the back right. Ohio State getting right in on the action and putting one down. That one's set up right in the middle for number 14, Erika Davis.
Yeah, and Michigan has played Ohio State once this year, losing in 0-3 fashion at Ohio State. And so Michigan's maybe trying some new lineups here to see whether they can come out and have a better start.
Gruensfelder's serve. Well over Jess Robinson with a hard right hand. Ohio State set to return. This one put down to the back row. That one coming off the right hand of Emily Londit.
What an absolute beautiful start here for Ohio State. 2 early points off of 2 kill opportunities.
Gruensfelder back to serve, right to Merzick. Johnson setting up Pertofsky with the right hand. That one just clips the line. That one's going to be a point for Michigan. We're tied.
Yeah, great
correction,
play.
1-2 for the Wolverines, their first point of this match.
Great play by May Pertofsky on the right edge, kind of finding a seam. It's not easy.
The libero, Grant, set to put it in play. That one hits the front of the net, and the Buckeyes are going to take a freebie.
We'll look to see how many errors happen this evening for Michigan. It's something they've struggled with all year.
Riley Rader, the first substitution of this matchup. Hannah Grant returns to serve Johnson, setting up Pertofsky again. Light tip over. Ohio State not fooled. They keep it in play. Ohio State, a little bit of a light tip of their own. Grant, near side. Paige Jones to the back row, a little too far. Another point for Ohio State, and they're well out in front in this one, 4-1.
Yeah, Paige Jones has struggled to find her groove the entire year this year, unfortunately, but she's still one of their Michigan's premier players.
Johnson, right up to the middle. Jackie Bonney laying out for it and keeping it alive is Ohio State. And they put that one off the front of the net. Point Michigan, lead now cut down to just 2.
I've never seen a player try to spike it from the outside, but Gabby Gonzalez did try just that, and unfortunately did not work for her.
It's going to be Pertofsky back to serve. This one spiraling down just over the top of the net. Ohio State barely keeps it up. Soft right hand from Gabby Gonzalez. Paige Jones now trying to find the middle. Can't go. Ohio State back to Gonzalez. Tipped up in the air. Kept alive by Pertofsky. Johnson near side to Paige Jones. She's trying to find a gap, and she does. That one falling right in front of the libero, Kylie Murray.
Great play by Paige Jones there, coming off the left edge this time and able to range inside for that beautiful kill. And the blue pom-poms are out in force here in Chrysler.
Down 1 point, 3-4. Pertovsky set to serve here. This one towards the back line. Kept up. Kylie Murr up to the front towards Gonzalez. Hannah Grant doing a nice job to keep that one alive. Merzik from the back row up to Paige Jones in the front. Gruensfelder keeps it up and put right back down. That one coming off the right hand of Riley Rader. Too hot for Hannah Grant to handle. And that's going to be another point for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Kendall Murray now checks in.
Yeah, no chance there for Hannah Grant. She was in good position, just couldn't get her hands down fast enough to handle that speed off the kill.
Sydney Taylor in, number 11 now for the Buckeyes. She's set to serve, puts it right in play to Kendall Murray. Scotty Johnson sets up Paige Jones. Ohio State able to keep it up. Jones meets her at the top of the net. Gonzalez now tips it over. Murray, Johnson, Paige Jones again trying to find a gap, beautiful. And she does. Textbook Michigan volleyball there.
Yeah, and Michigan's keeping it close, 4-5 now. And honestly, Kylie Murray looked like she kind of just lost track of where that ball was going to land. The libero for Ohio State ranged left instead of right.
Paige Jones now set to serve that one with all sorts of velocity towards the back line. Gonzalez now backhanded tip to keep it up in the air. Johnson, far side, running across her body's Jackie Bonney, and she can't get it to go. Ohio State sends it right back at her.
You said all sorts of velocity. That was funny. That was a good one. For someone who's a film major, that's a sciencey term right there.
The shade. The shade getting thrown my way.
Yeah. Hey, you're the one that said you didn't want to talk about bio. Here you are. Velocity.
Serve from Gonzalez. In play to Kendall Murray. Paige Jones in the back row. Kylie Murray keeps it up. Gonzalez now trying to find a tip. Jackie Bonney sends it right back her way. Far side. That one up towards Pedraza. Jess Mersick now trying to find a gap, and she does. Hitting the Big Ten logo and ricocheting off Kylie Murray's left arm. 5-6.
Yeah, Michigan's handling the kills as of late. And Janisha Moore tried her best to jump up and kill that ball, but couldn't do it. And guess who's in?
The SS Brooke Humphrey.
SS Brooke Humphrey.
That one skips off the top of the net, and that one's going to hit the ground.
Service ace.
Sydney Taylor did a lot to lay out for that one. Put it all on the line, but after rolling off the front of the net, just finds the hardwood.
That's why the SS Brooke Humphrey swims in these moments. She wades her way through the water.
The serve from Humphrey, this time to Kylie Murray in the back row. Taylor setting her team up, no good. Johnson at this near side. Jess Mersick wanted to go up and get it and hesitates and still able to find the ground. That one goes off the right arm of Riley Rader. Rader was well above the net, just waiting in anticipation for Mersick to put it her way and just misplayed it.
And the off-speed worked beautifully.
Michigan now with their first lead of this contest. 7-6 hits the score. That one to Murr again. In great play there from Pedraza. A little bit of misdirection in the middle, able to just lightly tip it over and find that space in the middle of the Michigan defense. 2 substitutions. Hannah Grant is going to check back in.
You want to know where Mac Pedraza went to high school? Big Walnut.
Serve from Riley Rader.
Beautiful.
Johnson. Jess Robinson finding a gap, going to her right side and all the way to the back left corner. Using absolutely all of the floor, and Michigan takes the lead again, 8-7 in favor of the Wolverines.
Yeah, Michigan's keeping it real close here in this first set. They're playing a little more aggressive, and I think they're using the crowd to their favor.
Pertovsky checks back in for Kendall Murray. It'll be Scotty Johnson, the lefty, to serve that one to the back row. Almost misplayed. Kylie Murray able to keep it alive. Michigan puts it right back down at Ohio State. May Pertovsky and Jess Robinson right there to just throw it right back at the Buckeyes.
Yeah, and that serve was actually arranged in the air. It looked like it was going to come down a lot earlier, but kind of just kept going.
9-7 the score. Ohio State set to return now. That one headed towards the back row. Hannah Grant keeps it alive. Scotty Johnson all the way across the floor. Jess Mersick trying a little bit of misdirection on her own side and then blocks it right back at OSU. They keep it up. Jess Robinson. Pertovsky. Johnson. Jess Mersick trying to find a gap again. Buckeyes refusing to break. And there they find a hole.
My goodness. Janisha Moore went off on that ball.
Great rally back and forth, but yeah, like you said, Janaisha Moore finding the gap all the way in the back right corner. Michigan's lead now cut to just 1.
Yeah, and on that play, Jess Robinson had a chance actually to try to get a good play at the net, and kind of just sent it over lacklustery.
Hannah Grant receives the serve. Scotty Johnson setting up Pertovsky. Janaisha Moore going back for more. Tipped up in the air by Kendall Murray, and that one's going to go out of bounds. Jess Robinson correction. This one's tied back up 9-9.
And Janaisha Moore is not that tall, only 6 feet, comparative to the other tall players on their team. But she has some wicked power in her arm.
Pedraza's serve is going to find the hardwood right away. Service ace from her, and Ohio State's back up on top.
Great job these last 3 points by Ohio State, mixing it up and using the errors forced on the Wolverine side.
Mac Pedraza tries to go right back to that same spot. Hannah Grant makes the right read on that one, letting it bounce wide. Tied back up at 10. And there's the sound of the Michigan band. First time we've heard them in Chrysler Center this year.
It's great to have an actual band here rather than just the speaker sound system.
Brings a lot more to the atmosphere. Jess Merzick serve put right in play. Ohio State puts it over, and meeting him at the top of the net is Jess Robinson, sending it right back at their face. Wolverines back up on top, 11-10.
Yep, there's Jess Robinson doing what she probably could have done a little earlier in the match, but learning from the past points.
Merzick puts it in play. Erika Davis keeps it up. Now it's going to be Janaisha Moore. Can't quite get it. Michigan gets a lucky break there. That one.
So much power.
So much power, as you said. Rolled all the way across the top of the net and eventually made its way out of play. 12-10 now. Michigan out in front by 2. Merzick on now her 4th consecutive serve. That one off the right shoulder of Janaisha Moore. She's going to be able to keep it in play, though. That one to Hannah Grant. Merzick covering a lot of ground to get there. Can Grant put it over? She does on the 3rd touch. Ohio State trying to set up something of their own and putting it down hard as Emily Londet.
Emily Londet came in ranging from that right side, and they looked like no one could stop her, not even an act of God. Not to invoke God here, but it's Halloween weekend.
Gruensfelder checks in. She's set to serve at a 1-point deficit. This one to the back row to Jess Merzick. Johnson setting up Jess Robinson on a nice little misdirection play there. Both Robinson and Paige Jones on the near side went up in the air for it. Ohio State made the wrong read. Jackie Bonney will check in for Robinson after that point. The libero Grant back to serve. Ohio State keeps it alive. Londa is blocked. Jackie Bonney getting right into the action after checking in. Michigan now with their biggest lead of the match.
Great play there by 6'4" Jackie Bonney, tallest player on this Michigan squad, getting right there in Emily Londa's face. And Emily Londa has 240-plus kills on the year for Ohio State, the best killer on that team. That sounds bad, but best killer on that team.
Gonzalez's kill attempt sent right back. It's going to be Londa now trying again off the left arm of Jackie Bonney and out of play. Point for the Buckeyes there. The lead now just 2 for Michigan.
And in terms of kills for this Ohio State Buckeyes team, it goes Emily Londet, then Gabby Gonzalez, then Riley Rader. So 3 big names you have to watch alongside Janaisha Moore, who has started to play a little more as the season has wore on.
Jackie Bonney tips that one over, soft right hand. Back to Londet, tipped up in the air a few times and off the right hand of Jess Merzick finally before going out of bounds. Ohio State putting together a little bit of a run here to close the gap.
Yeah, and 4 kills early for Emily Londet here, all coming from that right side. But Michigan still has a lead, 14-13.
Kylie Murr stringing together a little bit of a rally here, trying to get her Buckeyes back in the action.
And this first set is so important for both teams, especially for Michigan, who's trying to make the upset.
Murr serve. Michigan keeps it up, and miscommunication between the Wolverines leads to another Ohio State point. That one's going to tie it up, 14-14, as you mentioned, Nabeel. Very important first set for both teams. If the Buckeyes take it, that'd be the 4th consecutive set they take against the Michigan Wolverines. Whereas on the side of Michigan, they're looking to fight back after losing the last matchup between these two. 3-0. Jackie Bonney sends one right back at Ohio State.
What a block by Jackie Bonney. She didn't even look like she jumped.
So with a 1-point lead, 15-14, it'll be May Pertovsky back to serve for the second time today. That went a little bit too far, and that one's going to be out the back line. Tie it back up at 15. Kendall Murray will check in for Pertovsky.
Look at all the 15s on the board right now. 15, 1:15 on the clock. 15. It's like an omen. Maybe I should play that number in some fantasy or something.
Sydney Taylor, number 11, back to serve to Hannah Grant. Scotty Johnson setting up Paige Jones right back. Gonzalez getting a setup from her team now. Tipped off the left hand to Jackie Bonney and out the back line. Point for Ohio State.
Yeah, and Ohio State's taking the lead after about 10 points of being behind. So Ohio State early on was winning, but now they're back in front.
Taylor serve on the way. Right to Kendall Murray. Johnson fighting at the top of the net with Riley Rader. And that one's going to go off the Buckeyes and out of play. Tied back up, 16-16.
Great play by Paige Jones to get the tip in. And Paige Jones is a really gifted server that plays a high-risk, high-reward ball up in the air. So we'll see what happens on this coming up serve.
Search from Jones goes off the top of the net but stays in play. Set far side to Gonzalez, and she puts it down. Both Murray and Paige Jones laid out for that one, but neither could get there in time. Ohio State back out in front, 17-16. You mentioned that high-risk, high-reward kind of serve. We saw it tip off the top of the net there. Paige Jones and May Pertovsky play a very similar game in that sense.
Yeah, they really do.
Johnson setting up Merzick, hard right hand. And that's going to tie it back up. Great kill there from Jess Merzick.
One of the strongest swings of the arm I've seen from Jess Merzick this entire season, honestly. Very clean hit.
Kendall Murray and Brooke Humphrey check in for Hannah Grant and Jackie Bonney.
Sails her way to the back of the line.
Good serve, put in play. Janaisha Moore just out the back line. Had that one been about an inch and a half shorter, would have been a point for the Buckeyes.
That was real close. Looked real close on that line. The umpire was right there, though.
18-17 is the score. Brooke Humphrey back there doing what she does best. That one in play to Kylie Murr. Kendall Murray now receives. Jess Merzick is blocked. Ohio State all over the place. Pedraza and Riley Rader met Jess Merzick at the top of the net. That one with about the same amount of power as that last kill she had, but Ohio State all over that one. We're tied back up at 18. Serve from Rader on the way to Hannah Grant. Johnson setting up Jess Robinson on the slide. Ohio State now going for one of their own. That one's going to fall. Erika Davis, the freshman from Hillsborough, North Carolina, finding the hardwood for the first time today. Ohio State back out in front. After the big block 2 points ago, Riley Rader on the back line to serve. That one to Kendall Murray. Scotty Johnson setting up Jess Merzick. Ohio State keeps it up. That's going to be a point for Ohio State. Going to call net violation on Jess Robinson.
Massively unfortunate net violation there. Because now Ohio State has pulled to within 5 points away from winning this first set and have looked a little bit in control these past 3 points. And as you know, volleyball is a game about runs, so Mark Rosen wants a timeout to talk things over as the Monster Mash plays. Right? This is the Monster Mash?
Nope, this is Ghostbusters.
No, I don't know anything about Halloween music.
Nice try, though. I respect the effort. I respect the effort.
It sounds the same. I'm going to get so much backlash.
Clock ticking down to 45 seconds left in this timeout. Michigan Wolverines trying to put together a little bit of a game plan here. Trying to take this first set against Ohio State. The Buckeyes are out in front by 2. As you mentioned, that last matchup between the two out in Columbus, Ohio. Ohio State took it easily in 3 sets. Michigan playing for a little bit of pride here against their Big Ten Conference rivals.
Yeah, and Michigan is one of 8 teams in the top 30 of the NCAA rankings, and so Michigan is rounding out the top 30 at being around 30. I believe the number 30 themselves, but there's 7 teams in front, and Ohio State is number 9 in the nation, but they've lost 4 Big Ten matches, which makes sense when the Big Ten has been so loaded.
Yeah, you mentioned how loaded the Big Ten is. I mean, you look at teams like Ohio State's, Minnesota's, Penn State's, Wisconsin's. Top 25 is filled with all sorts of talent. That serve from Ohio State after the timeout goes out the back line, so maybe the timeout did pay off. Cut a little bit of the momentum, and Michigan scores a freebie. May Pertovsky's going to check in for Kendall Murray. Scotty Johnson heads back to the service line. Johnson's left-handed serve on the way. Set up all the way across, blocked. Kill attempt coming from Janisha Moore. She's going to try again. Johnson keeps it up. Hannah Grant setting up Pertovsky for the back line. Taylor keeps it alive. Jones again and finds the ground. Janisha Moore.
What a kill. Unreal how quickly they're able to get that ball down, especially Janisha Moore on that left side for Ohio State. What a great find for this Ohio State team. The junior out of Germantown, Maryland.
Serve on the way from Pedraza. Paige Jones setting up May Pertovsky, and she's blocked. That one going off the right arm of Erika Davis. Going back to that last kill from Ohio State. Janisha Moore only sitting at 6 feet tall. Definitely not the tallest player out there on the court. Not even the tallest player on her team, but she can jump out of the gym.
Oh, yeah.
Michigan gets an easy one there as Ohio State puts it off the front of the net. Mac Pedraza is going to get credit for the service error there. The Wolverines 5 points away from set number 1. The Buckeyes only 3. Serve on the way from Jess Mersick. That one to the back row.
Oh,
it's going to be Londit putting it down now. That one to the right side of Hannah Grant. Grant did everything she could to get there, but not in time. The Buckeyes creeping closer and closer to that magic number of 25.
Yeah, Londit is, I mean, almost 250 kills on the year.
Serve from Grudensfelder. Scotty Johnson now. Paige Jones trying to find a gap and just catching the line. That one
what a play.
Spun off the hand of Paige Jones. Made its way around the arms of Londit in the front row.
It looked like a tennis serve. You know how they really can put some kind of twist in that ball.
21 serving 23 here. It's Hannah Grant. Ooh. Almost catches the ace there, and Jackie Bonney puts it right back. Sydney Taylor did everything she could to get to that ball before it hit the ground. She got it back over the net, but right into the right hand of an awaiting Jackie Bonney.
Yeah, and 22-23, some massive points here for Hannah Grant's serve.
Grant serve to Gruensfelder in the back row. It's going to be Rodriguez, blocked by Pertovsky. She keeps it alive. Paige Jones now finds the back corner. Great location from the senior, and we're tied up at 23.
Oh, and Michigan is absolutely hype, and they absolutely should be. What a play by Jackie Bonney and Scotty Johnson. Scotty Johnson getting the ball back in play. Scotty Johnson is such an unsung hero for this Michigan team on the setting side of things. And she got the ball to Paige Jones, and Paige Jones has come up massive this evening for Michigan so far. I know I kind of went off on her a little bit, saying that she has a ton of talent, but she's really showing why she's one of the premier players on Michigan's squad.
After being down 22-19 as Michigan took their last timeout, they come out of that timeout and go on a 4-1 rally to take the lead here in Ann Arbor. 23-23, we're tied up.
Yeah, and it's the Jordan year, or we'll call it the Jordan point. The Jordan point for both of these teams here. And Michigan's lucky to have it on their own serve. They just can't waste it. Ohio State already has 2 unforced service errors on the night. and Michigan only has 1. So far winning in that department. And it's something that I always like to pay attention to as a broadcaster, because it shows whether your team is struggling with hitting on the evening, if you're making these unforced service errors, and thus the rest of the night is kind of, you're having a tough time finding and tracking the ball. That's just my theory on things, for having not played volleyball ever in my life. That is my theory from the broadcast booth.
We always love your input, Nabeel. Hannah Grant putting it in play here as we're locked at 23. Londit trying to find a gap. Grant lays out for it. Looked like from up here she might have gotten a hand under it, but the referees disagree. Ohio State now with match point.
Yeah, and the referee he's right there so you can see better than us, but it did look really close.
Serve on the way from Kylie Murray. Johnson all the way back behind her to May Pertovsky. Ohio State somehow keeps it alive. Jones now trying. Murray keeps it alive again. Set up for Londit. Blocked right back at her by Jackie Bonney.
Blocked right there. Right back onto Londit's leg, and the ball fell out of bounds. But great play by Kylie Murray, getting the ball back in play twice off 2 kills. And it's win by 2 here in volleyball, so we're now in the Kobe years, 24-24.
Pertovsky serve on the way, locked at 24. Almost finds the ground. Rodriguez trying to find a gap of her own. Paige Jones keeps it up. Scotty Johnson back to the middle. Jess Mersick blocked and out of play. Michigan out in front now. Set point for the Wolverines.
Great block by Michigan on Gabby Gonzalez's try at the net. And Michigan now is a serve for a first set steal.
The crowd is on their feet here in Chrysler Center. Pertovsky serve on the way. Hits the front of the net. We're going to be back tied 25-25. That's that do-or-die serve we mentioned before, Nabeel, with her and Paige Jones. Big
error there by May Pertovsky, who's been so consistent on the serving side, but 2 errors on her serve this first set. She'll have to get that back on track, but here we go, tied again, 25-25.
Kendall Murray will check in for her. It's Sydney Taylor back to serve, right to Murray, getting her involved right away. Jess Mersick, blocked, but hovers on the net a little bit. Allows Michigan to recover. Paige Jones now. Kylie Murray, far side to Londit. Kept alive. Jones up in the middle. Mersick tipping it over with 2 hands. Kylie Murray keeps it up. Far side for Rodriguez. Kept alive again. Rally just refusing to go, and Paige Jones puts it right between the arms of Mac Pedraza and Riley Rader, and Michigan back up on top.
Oh my goodness, Paige Jones coming out of the woodworks this first set. She has been absolutely stunning on that kill. Beautiful play there, splitting the defense.
Crowd on their feet once more. 26 serving 25. That went out the back line. So Michigan gives away two straight set points
off of their own serve.
Tied
massively unfortunate. You have to wonder whether just getting the ball in play is almost a little more important. But then again, they've played a lot more longer than I have.
Gabby Gonzalez to serve. Right to Hannah Grant. Scotty Johnson setting up Jackie Bonney, but kept alive. Rodriguez keeping her team up, and that one's put down. Ohio State out in front now. The sophomore from Louisville, Kentucky, Riley Rader, getting her team back out.
Yeah, great play by Riley Rader. She's able to just find a crease in Michigan's defense. I don't think they were expecting such a short attempt there. But Mark Rosen takes another timeout. As you know, Mark Rosen's not afraid to take any timeouts he wants. He takes them whenever and however he wants to take them. And he's usually incredibly efficient with his timeout usage because Michigan almost always comes out playing better than when they went into the timeout. Now, Michigan has had 2 opportunities to win the first set, and we'll look to see whether they can bounce back and hold on a set point for Ohio State. But so far, there's a lot to like from how Michigan's playing. It's eerily similar to the Wisconsin game in which they played Wisconsin very close in that first set. However, ended up losing the next 2 very handedly. So we'll see if Michigan can keep this up for the next 2 sets if they do indeed lose this first set. Not to be a Debbie Downer.
The odds are in their favor right now for Michigan. Currently on the year, they're 12-7 overall, but they're 7-2 at home and 3-1 at home in the Big Ten. So statistics say they've got the advantage here in Chrysler Center. Coming out of the timeout, fans back on their feet, waving those blue pom-poms around. It's going to be Gabby Gonzalez, the junior from Marietta, Georgia, to serve. Kendall Murray lays out to keep that one alive. Paige Jones flying in from the back row. She puts it down. We're back to 27s.
Cross-court spike by Paige Jones, ranging to her right. Beautiful play there. With that spin, I mean, when she's on, she's incredibly efficient, and she's one of the best attackers that Michigan has to offer.
Jackie Bonney and Hannah Grant check out. It'll be Brooke Humphrey to serve.
Oh.
And she hands that one over the head of Kylie Murr. Murr made the right read. So after the impressive play from Paige Jones, Ohio State back out in front. It's 28-27. Set number 1 going to plenty of extras here. Riley Rader served to the back row to Hannah Grant. Johnson sending up Kendall Murray, or Jess Robinson rather, and she puts it down. Too hot to handle for Erika Davis.
Yeah, Jess Robinson has a lot of power on her own serve as well, but Michigan will look to all reliable Scotty Johnson to stop this service error bleeding. 3 in a row for Michigan, and so Scotty Johnson now serving for Michigan.
Johnson serve on the way. That one too far out the back. Michigan just can't lock it in here from the service line.
I'm not sure if it's nerves or is maybe there's a draft that has come from the Michigan side. But 4 straight service errors coming in these last 8 or so points.
Mac Pedraza to serve now. Right to Jess Mersick. Scotty Johnson now setting up Paige Jones. Blocked right back at her. Michigan able to keep it up. It's set point for Ohio State. Pedraza setting up Blondet. Hers too far out the back, and we're back tied at 29.
Yeah, and neither team feels like they want to take this point. This set point's been within grasp for both teams. Just unfortunate, maybe nerves playing a big role here in a rivalry game.
Lucky fans here in Chrysler Center getting some free volleyball tonight. Jess Mersick able to keep that serve in play.
Oh.
And after a great effort to keep it up, Scotty Johnson and May Pertovsky kind of faked each other out there as they let that ball hit the ground, and Ohio State back out in front, 30-29.
Yeah, and the only thing that maybe would have happened on that point is if they all converged and maybe could have injured themselves. So maybe it's a positive coming out of a negative.
Gruensfelder serve right to Jess Mersick. Scotty Johnson sending up Pertovsky. Ohio State able to keep it alive. Gonzalez towards the back row. Mersick keeps it up. Johnson across the court. Paige Jones trying to find a gap. She can't. Kylie Murr setting up Blondet. That one's too far out left. Tried to find a gap.
Yeah.
But to no avail. Tied again once more at 30.
Blondet tried going down the line and just missed that. The referee was right there. And now, I mean, this game has gone into its mid-30s.
Serve from Hannah Grant. It's kept up by Gruensfelder. Trying to set up Gonzalez. Blocked. And out the back, that's going to be a point for Ohio State. This one's been back and forth constantly.
Yeah, great play by both teams. A little tip there at the net by May Pertovsky led to Ohio State's point. Mark Rosen decides to not challenge, and Kylie Murr serves.
The junior from Yorktown, Indiana, trying to get it done here. Pertovsky right to the back line, right to Murr. And Ohio State, great play to keep it alive. Hannah Grant to Scotty Johnson, far side. It's going to be Pertovsky again, and they can't keep that one up. Laying out for it was Hannah Grusenfelder, but Pertovsky just showing dominance on the offensive end. 31-31 sits the score.
Well, great play so far by both teams on the defensive side, not letting either team get 2 points ahead. And we'll look to see whether Pertovsky can hit a serve in.
Pertovsky serve goes in play. Still at 31. Londit trying to find a gap, and she does. Pertovsky laid out for it, but too far to her right-hand side. Ohio State back on top.
Yep, and this game has gone into Middle Ages, Middle Age territory. Maybe it's just they don't want Ryan to get on the call. No, I'm joking. Ohio State now has their 5th set point.
Emily Londit, 32 serving 31. Paige Jones trying to find a gap. She hits Kylie Murray, and Ohio State finally takes set number 1. The right hand of Gabby Gonzalez.
And unfortunate end to that set for Michigan. They definitely played their hearts out in that first set, and it's not to say that they won't play as hard in these next 2 sets. However, or at least next to at least 2 sets, but Michigan definitely has to work hard to shake off that first set. There's plenty of positives to be had there. Clean up those unforced errors, especially on the serving side of things, and hopefully make a play for these next 2 sets.
Yeah, Ohio State now takes their 4th consecutive set against the Wolverines, but Michigan didn't go down without a fight. Made Ohio State score 8 extra points, 33-31, the final score in set number 1. We've got 2 minutes until the action of set number 2.
Want to hear a hometown hero from Ohio State?
I would love to hear a hometown hero, Nabeel.
Vanja Bukalic from Belgrade, Serbia. She went to XIV Belgrade Gymnasium. I think that means 16 or 14?
14. Yes, 14.
XIV, 14. 14 Belgrade Gymnasium. She came all the way from Serbia as a senior now, but she has not been in this game yet. I kind of want to see her just to yell, Vanja. Vanja! Get over here. But, you know, as the usual, Jenny Liu from Berlin, Germany. I actually got this one correct last time, so I'm going to try it again. Leistung Sportzentrum High School.
Is that correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Do you have confirmation that that's
I mean,
correct?
I can probably find it on Google. Leistung Sportzentrum High School. It's close enough.
Hey.
Also, don't forget Northville, Michigan's own Hannah Grant, my hometown. Other than that, you've heard the rest on our previous broadcasts. And there's a bunch of Ohio ones on Ohio State's team, but, you know, I don't know how much we like Ohio towns. We still care about them, but, you know.
Nabeel, you never fail to entertain.
I know, seriously.
Thank you for Hometown Heroes, Nabeel.
Yes, of course.
You know, it's always a bright spot in my day. And with that, I think we're going to swap it over towards myself and Ryan Dolson for set number 2. If you're just tuning in, the Ohio State Buckeyes took set number 1 for their 4th consecutive against the Wolverines by a score of 33-31, went into plenty of extras. But now Michigan's going to have to gear up and fight their way back into this one. As we make the swap over, Ryan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm doing great.
Glad to hear. Glad to hear. It's a beautiful day inside Chrysler Center today. The weather outside in Ann Arbor
Is
about as miserable as it comes.
That's okay though. We are warm. We're inside with an electric, explosive crowd on this amazing blue out after a first set that didn't feel like it was going to end at first.
Yeah, that one just went back and forth. Plenty of extra points scored, and
Really felt like it could have gone to anyone there. You know, 1 or 2 points go Michigan's way, and I mean, that was their set. I think they looked really great out there. They did not quit. They kept going. You know, being able to go up against one of the top 10 teams in the nation, go up to 30-plus points. I mean, that's no small feat.
with the sound of the whistle, we are ready to go in set number 2 here. On the floor for the Michigan Wolverines is going to be May Pertovsky, Jess Robinson, Paige Jones, Hannah Grant, Jess Merzick, and Scotty Johnson as well. For Michigan, or for Ohio State rather, it's going to be Hannah Gruensfelder back to serve to start this one off. Her serve from the back corner all the way to Jess Merzick on the same side. Jess Robinson getting right in the action. Ohio State able to keep it up, though. It's going to go right to Gabby Gonzalez. She ended set number 1, trying to get ahead here in set number 2. It's going to be into the right hand of Erika Davis, and she finds the back line. First point of set number 2 goes to the Buckeyes.
That was a solid point, solid play. I hate how it turns out, but
Gruensfelder to the service line once more. To Merzik. Scotty Johnson setting up Pertovsky on the far side, right to Kylie Murr, and what a play! Ricochet off Kylie Murr's left arm. Goes right up into the right hand of Emily Londit.
brutal ricochet there. Really looked like Michigan was going to have that one for a second, and just falls in the middle.
Gruensfelder putting together a little bit of a run here. Scotty Johnson to Jess Robinson. The Wolverines trying to end this drought. Gonzalez, hard left hand. Over towards Hannah Grant. Both teams refusing to break here. It's going to be Londit trying now. That one too far out the back line, and Michigan finds their first point of set number 2. So after the attack error from Emily Londit, it's going to be Jess Merzik back to the service line for the Wolverines, starting in that back left corner. Serve on the way, hits the front of the net. Michigan hands over another one. The Wolverines have really struggled from the service line today. Gave away a couple crucial ones in crunch time in the latter half of set number 1.
You just hate to see it. Those are points that you really shouldn't be giving away.
Kylie Murr served to Jess Merzik. Hannah Grant setting up Paige Jones now on this near side. Murr keeps it alive. Back to Riley Rader in the middle. Jess Merzik coming out of nowhere from the back row, and that one's going to be too far out of play for Ohio State to recover. Point for the Wolverines. Merzik put that one right at Kylie Murr. She just couldn't keep it soft enough in play. And that's going to be a service ace from Hannah Grant, finding the gap in the middle of all those Buckeye players. And we're tied up for the first time here in set number 2.
Excellent point, excellent serve. Love seeing it. That was a great one. Seeing Hannah Grant serve once again.
Locked at 3 here. Hannah Grant served to the back line. Kept up by Taylor. Set to the near side for Londit, and she's blocked. Jackie Bonney sends it right back at her.
Excellent block there by Michigan by, I missed the name. What was that?
Jackie Bonney on the block.
Jackie Bonney, yes, absolutely.
Number 22, Emily Londit for Ohio State. Their tallest player sitting at 6'3". Jackie Bonney just literally inches her out at 6'4" as Bonney blocks another one. Michigan out in front now by 2.
Another excellent block. Jackie Bonney.
Hannah Grant gives her team a little bit of coaching now as she goes back to the service line once more. That one right to Murr. Set all the way across for Gonzalez. And 2 Michigan players collide. Paige Jones and Hannah Grant both got dirty for that one. But neither of them could keep it up. It's going to be a point for the Buckeyes, still trailing by 1. It'll be number 11, Sydney Taylor, the freshman from Clintonville, Ohio, to serve here. Taylor serve right to Hannah Grant. Johnson setting up Paige Jones, trying to find a gap. Blocked, but Michigan keeps it alive. Johnson back to Jones again. Tipped, but kept it in the air. Gonzalez is blocked, but somehow Kylie Murr brings it right back over. Pertovsky now trying to find the back line. That one's too far. We're tied up at 5.
Just barely outside the line. Just sometimes it's a game of inches, and it absolutely showed right there. Some fantastic blocks on both sides, great setups. Just hate that it didn't go our way.
It's going to be Sydney Taylor back to the service line once more. Right to Hannah Grant. It's been a string we've seen back and forth. Paige Jones's kill attempt kept alive. It's going to be Gabby Gonzalez now with the hard right hand and blocked by who else? Jackie Bonney.
She has proved absolutely crucial this set so far, doing an excellent job getting all the right blocks set up. You love seeing it.
Score 6-5. Pertovsky ready to put it in play. Dribbling the ball with the right hand. now heading up. Spiraling down towards the back line. That one's going to be too far out. Pertovsky struggling from the line today. See that same rotation. Kendall Murray will check in for her. It's going to be Gabby Gonzalez, the outside hitter.
Ohio State managed to tie it up on that point, 6-6.
Gonzalez floats that one over right to Kendall Murray. Scotty Johnson setting up Jackie Bonney. Bonney doing it on the offensive end too. Michigan back out in front, 7-6. With a 1-point lead, it'll be Paige Jones to serve. Paige Jones puts it over. And Michigan unable to handle the block cleanly. Janaisha Moore set up once again, put it down into the hands of Jackie Bonney, but couldn't quite handle it. We're tied back up at 7.
Set's just going just like the last one. The set has been going back and forth. These teams are very evenly matched, it would seem, so far.
Riley Rader serve right to Kendall Murray. Grant to Merzick. Blocked but out of play. Michigan takes another point, 8-7. And they'll throw in 2 quick substitutions. It'll be Jess Robinson for Jackie Bonney, and coming in for Kendall Murray will be Brooke Humphrey. Murray will check out the libero Grant. Front line of Merzick, Robinson, and Johnson. Michigan's going to get the point. Ohio State unable to return the serve cleanly. In that front line, Merzick and Robinson just toss it right back at him, 9-7.
Bit of a close encounter there at the net that went Michigan's way.
Humphrey serving for the Wolverines. It's going to be blocked right back at him, but looks like it went just over the net. Correction on my end. It's Erika Davis. She's going to get credit for the kill there. Erika Davis, very similar player to Janaisha Moore. Not the tallest person on this team, sitting at only 5'11". Plenty of verticality. As the Michigan's up by 1, Ohio State puts it in play. Both teams going back and forth here. It's going to be Janaisha Moore trying once more. Merzick able to keep it alive. Johnson setting up Paige Jones, flying in from the back row. Ohio State refuses to break. Johnson to Grant. Merzick on the near side, right to Kylie Murr. Londit now trying once more. Great athletic play there by Hannah Grant to keep it alive, but Paige Jones puts it off the front of the net.
Some great saves there. Just an unfortunate.
It'll be the junior Mac Pedraza back to serve here. We'll have quick stoppage of play to wipe up a little bit of sweat off the floor. We're tied at 9. Both teams battling back and forth. Pedraza lofts that one high over the net. Scotty Johnson setting up Jess Robinson, and Michigan's going to get point there. That one goes off the right hand of Erika Davis. With that, Kendall Murray will check out. May Pertovsky will check back in. It'll be Scotty Johnson back to serve now. The lefty serving from that opposite corner. Front row of Robinson, Merzick, and Pertovsky. Janaisha Moore able to put it over, but Michigan blocked right back. They kept it up. Merzick went for a kill attempt of her own, but sitting right there was Emily Londit. Hannah Gruensfelder will check in and head right to the service line. We're tied at 10 here. Just tuning in, Ohio State took set number 1 by a score of 33-31. Paige Jones flying in from the back row. Kylie Murr keeps it up. Gonzalez is going to be too far outside. Michigan takes the lead, 11-10.
You got it.
With a 1-point lead, it'll be Jess Merzick to the back line. Michigan as a team has struggled from the service line today. That one
Yet another
Just
example.
adding to the narrative. Too far out the back line. It's going to tie us back up at 11. The libero, Kylie Murray to serve. Coming from dead middle of the floor, Scotty Johnson setting up Pertovsky on the backside, and she puts it down off the left hand of Hannah Gruensfelder. The Wolverines are back out on top. Jackie Bonney's going to check in for Jess Robinson.
Buckeyes just unable to get under that one. Giving a crucial point, hopefully, to Michigan.
12 serving 11. It's Hannah Grant. Ohio State tried a little bit of misdirection there. Pertovsky's just not going to waste any time and try to send one right back at him. Gonzalez able to find a gap there over the right shoulder of Scotty Johnson. Mac Pedraza, the setter in the middle of the floor, doing all sorts of work all over the place for the Ohio State Buckeyes.
That one just barely managed to go over the block attempt.
The Wolverines and Buckeyes locked at 12 here in set number 2. It's going to be the freshman Taylor to serve. Sydney Taylor served to the back line to Hannah Grant. Johnson setting up Paige Jones and putting it right down. That one off the right hand of Riley Rader.
Going right through the block attempts set up by the Buckeyes there.
Pertovsky now to the back line, looking for redemption here. Wolverines up by 1, 13-12. Pertovsky hits the net again.
Definitely having a bit of serving trouble. Started to really show towards the end of set 1, and this set, I mean, it seems unfortunately constant.
Pertovsky just having a little bit of an off day from the service line. The hometown kid, Kendall Murray, to check in now. Gabby Gonzalez serves right to Grant. Merzick setting up Jones. Off the left arm of Sydney Taylor and out the back line. Michigan back out in front. This match already as a whole, just through a set and a half, the Wolverines look like a much more complete team and a much more competitive team than they did a little over a week ago down in Columbus, Ohio, where Ohio State took that one 3-0. Paige Jones' serve just too far out the left side. Michigan missing wide that time rather than deep. Tied back up at 14.
I mean, yeah, definitely doubt on what you're saying. They have been competitive despite Ohio State winning the first set. I mean, they've been keeping neck and neck.
Ohio State coughs over a service error of their own. That one coming off the hand of Riley Rader. So Michigan Wolverines back out on top. Brooke Humphrey will check in.
15-14 lead.
Humphrey taking her time, now puts the serve in play. Pedraza setting up her team. Michigan unable to get it over. They had 2 attempts that ricocheted off the net. Janae Samore elevated and then elected to go with the soft right-hand touch.
Unfortunately, just not enough for that.
15-15. Mac Pedraza back to serve now. Lofts this one over. Hannah Grant to Johnson. Merzick is blocked, but it goes way high and outside. The Wolverines back out on top. They have had the lead for most of this set. It's been back and forth, but the Buckeyes haven't been able to take the lead, just tie it.
Absolutely. It feels feels like Michigan has been dominating the set. It has still been neck and neck, so close.
Scotty Johnson serve to Gonzalez. Set up all the way across and put down. That one coming off the right hand of Janessa Moore. Tied back up at 16. Great offensive play there by Janessa Moore. She'll check out. Serving 16. Gruensfelder puts it in play right to Paige Jones. Pertovsky flying in from the back line. Grant now to Johnson. Jess Robinson blocked up in the air. Rodriguez gets it back over. Or Gonzalez, rather. Pertofsky too far out the back line. That's going to be a point for the Buckeyes.
Buckeyes are going to take their first lead in what feels like a while in this set.
And Michigan's going to call timeout. The Buckeyes finally back out on top. 17-16 is the score.
This has been an explosive first two sets. I mean, you know, you compare it to, like you said, the previous matchup at Ohio State where they won all three sets 3-0, but Michigan was able to take them to 30 points last set in an absolute neck-and-neck game where it felt like anybody could have gotten it, and this set feels exactly the same. Feels like it could go to anybody. Ohio State's currently only up by 1, but, I mean, apart from a little bit of serving trouble here and there, Michigan has looked really excellent. It looked really looked fired up this whole set, this whole game, really.
Nabeel and I mentioned earlier just how competitive the Big Ten is. Currently looking at the AVCA coaches poll, top 25 for college volleyball currently. In the top 10, just from the Big Ten alone, or in the top 25 rather, from the Big Ten alone, we've got Wisconsin, Nebraska, Ohio State, Minnesota, Purdue, Penn State.
Just some
Stacked
unbelievable
all
competition.
the way through. Penn State, the lowest ranking in the top 25 from teams in the Big Ten, and they're sitting at number 13 currently.
Whew. A lot of competition this season, to say the least. You know, Big Ten play, we've fared 5-5, you know, against such a hard conference schedule.
Coming out of the timeout, Gruensfelder puts it in play. Pertofsky going to try to find a gap here. Gonzalez keeps it up. She's going to receive this set. That one right to Hannah Grant. Johnson to Jess Merzick. Miscommunication between the Wolverines. Can they get it over? Finally able to. Jess Robinson coming in clutch there for the Wolverines. Laundit puts it down. Paige Jones covering a lot of ground to get there. Merzick pushes it over with two hands to Kylie Murr. And put right down. That one coming off the right hand of Erika Davis. Set up by Mac Pedraza. Ohio State now with their biggest lead in quite a while. It's 18-16 here in Chrysler Center. Hannah Gruensfelder back to serve again. Whistle signal, she's good to go. That one right to Grant. Johnson, near side to Pertofsky. That one too wide out to the right side. Ricocheting off the Ohio State bench.
Looked for a second like maybe one of the Ohio State players got a finger on it, but not the case.
Coach Lisa Rosen shares a quick word with the referee. Johnson to Jess Robinson, blocked right back at her, and just finding that out of play line. And Michigan's going to call another timeout here. Ohio State goes on a quick run, and their lead is now 4.
Current score 20-16 in the second set. Ohio State only 5 points away from taking a 2-0 set lead. Michigan's definitely got to stop this run. I think Ohio State's looking like they're finding a groove, and I think Michigan's got to find an answer for that.
If you're just tuning in, the Buckeyes took set number 1 by a score of 33-31. That one went into all sorts of extras. Neither team able to find the points they needed. Michigan with a couple service errors late that let the Buckeyes back into it. Ohio State able to eventually take set number 1, as we mentioned. Now back out in front here, 5 points away from taking set number 2. Michigan, a few weeks ago back in Columbus, dropped 3 sets in a row. Ohio State rather. Now it's taken 4 out of the last 4 sets against the Wolverines. Michigan just trying to get something going. Pretty stacked week for Michigan athletics as a whole. Plenty of volleyball games, plenty of hockey games, one going on right now as well. And of course, arguably the matchup of the week, Michigan versus Michigan State tomorrow in East Lansing. Both football teams ranked in the top 10 in the country. Both teams undefeated. Should be An incredible day.
Definitely not one you're going to want to miss.
Gruensfelder's serve right to Jess Merzick. Johnson sets her up. Merzick headed towards the back row. Michigan started celebrating like they scored, but
looks like they saw it a bit differently.
4 points away from claiming set number 2. It's going to be Gruensfelder to serve again. Jess Merzick puts it too far over, and Erika Davis puts it right back down.
Michigan's got to find an answer for this run quick. It is not looking pretty for them right now, unfortunately.
Little bit of a misplay there from Jess Merzick, allowing Erika Davis to just float up there around the top of the net. Johnson setting up Jess Merzick now, and she finds a gap. Ricochets off the right hand of Gabby Gonzalez. And Michigan finally able to stop the bleeding, but now they're down by 5, 17-22 in favor of the Buckeyes here.
Great point there. And we got Jess Merzick going up to serve.
After the great kill to stop the bleeding, Merzick looking to get it done from the service line. Laundit now, hard right hand and putting it down. I mean, as my co-host Nabeel mentioned a few times earlier, Laundit's just been absolutely dominant this year. Kill numbers now up over 250. 23 serving 17 here. Kylie Murr's serve returned well by the Wolverines. Murr now setting up Gonzalez, coming to her right hand, and that one's going to be out of play. Point for the Wolverines. Lead now cut down to 5 once more. Jackie Bonney will check in for Jess Robinson. (18-23). The Wolverines need to get something going here in set number 2. Hannah Grant to serve. That one looked like it might have went out of play had Ohio State left it go, but they decide to go back out in the attack. Riley Rader puts that one off the left arm of Jackie Bonney, and now Michigan State has set point for the second straight set. Sydney Taylor will check in. And serving with all sorts of momentum, 24-18 sits the score. Johnson setting up Paige Jones, trying to keep her team alive. Laundit trying now. Johnson to Paige Jones, blocked by Laundit but kept alive. And finally able to find the ground is Ohio State. That's the second straight set for them. Mac Pedraza all over the place there, setting her team up. And the Buckeyes finally able to find the hardwood. So we head into halftime. The Buckeyes in a very comfortable position. After taking the last matchup between these teams 3-0, the Buckeyes up 2-0 here in Ann Arbor. Michigan's going to need to figure something out in the locker room to avoid the second consecutive sweep.
It was certainly a hard second set to watch. I believe Ohio State took 10 of the last 12 points scored. Definitely going to have to avoid something like that. I think Michigan's going to have to come out strong in the third set, and they're going to have to start pulling away. Right when it seemed, they take a 1-point lead, they were able to tie it up. They just have a rough serve, and that would kill a lot of the momentum they had. They definitely got to avoid doing that in set number 3 and hopefully onwards.
So we head into halftime. I'm going to take a quick 2-minute break. We'll meet you back here for action in the second half. Coming into set number 3, Michigan, it is go time for them. Hello and welcome, folks, back to now second half action here in Ann Arbor. Our coverage of Michigan volleyball continues as we got a minute 30 before we head into set number 3. The Ohio State Buckeyes well out on top here, 2-0. They've got a very comfortable lead as we're heading into set number 3. Ryan, what do you think the keys are here for the Michigan Wolverines to keep this match going?
I think the most important, the most crucial key is that they got to avoid, serving mess-ups. So many serves have gone too hard into the outside or just hitting the net, and that really killed a lot of chances they had at building momentum. Killed a lot of chances they had at pulling away in the first set, and it really ruined a lot of chances they had in the second set of, taking a bigger lead when it was back and forth for quite some time.
Just looking at team stats currently, Michigan now has 11 service errors as a team as opposed to Ohio State's 4. That one definitely a difference between the two. Michigan has pretty much handed Ohio State 7 free points. And, looking back at that first set and one that was as close as it was, you need those kind of points. Give you a quick recap if you're just joining us. As we said, Ohio State up 2-0. They took set number 1 by a final score of 33-31. That one went into plenty of extras. They take set number 2 by a much more commanding lead, 25-18. Look to see what halftime adjustments Michigan made. See what coaches Mark and Lisa Rosen have done.
Well, hopefully they were inspired by that electric halftime dance-off performance.
As the horn sounds, we are set to go. On the court for Michigan to start, it'll be Paige Jones, Jess Merzick, Jess Robinson, Jackie Bonney, and May Pertofsky. On the court for Ohio State, looks like it's going to be Kylie Murr, Hannah Gruensfelder, Gabby Gonzalez, Mac Pedraza, Erika Davis. And rounding out that lineup is Emily Londit. And here we go here, Hannah Grant. The libero checks in for Jackie Bonney, and we're just about set to go. Jess Merzick will head to the service line to get set number 3 going here. It is go time for the Michigan Wolverines. This set, win or go home. And we are in play in set number 3. Pedraza to the Londit, Michigan keeping it alive. Paige Jones finds the ground, just catching that outside line for point number 1. And the Wolverines out to a lead early in set number 3.
Great point there. Excellently played by the Wolverines.
The kill from Paige Jones gets some momentum going Michigan's way, assisted by Hannah Grant. Just as I say that, Gabby Gonzalez puts one down herself. So we're tied at 1-1. Erika Davis is going to check out. Checking in for her is the 6'2" sophomore from Louisville, Kentucky, Riley Rader. Kylie Murr's serve, right to Merzick. Johnson to Pertofsky off the left hand of Murr, and Ohio State can't get to that one. Michigan back out on top.
They try their hardest saving that one as it went by the bench, but just too far out for them.
Plenty of verticality in that front row for Michigan. Paige Jones on the left side, Jackie Bonney in the middle, sitting at 6'4", and the high flyer, May Pertofsky, on the outside to the right. 2 serving 1. It's the libero Grant to put it in play. That one right to Kylie Murr. Ohio State tips it back over. Johnson now to Bonney, looking for a quick one, not going to get it. And Ohio State able to find the hardwood there. Mac Pedraza setting up Riley Rader for a quick one. Emily Londit checking out, checking in for her to serve is going to be Sydney Taylor. Ohio State does lead this contest 2-0. It's been very competitive all the way through. Paige Jones is blocked. Michigan keeps it alive, though. It's going to be Jones to try again, misdirection, and she gets that one to go. It was Mac Pedraza and Riley Rader floating up right in front of her, trying to block one back again. Jones decides to go all the way across court, and Kylie Murray couldn't get there in time.
She managed to get a hand on it, but unfortunately just was not enough to get the point.
Hometown kid, Kendall Murray to serve. Gonzalez right back at Murray, kept alive. Hannah Grant covering a lot of ground. Michigan got to get it over here. Impressive play to keep this rally going. Rodriguez again off the left hand of Kendall Murray. Point for Ohio State. Tied at 3 now.
That was a great save there. You really wish they could have made something out of it, but, you know, there's no shame in how that one ended up being saved.
Gabby Gonzalez now puts in play, just makes its way over the net.
Didn't look like it was
unfortunate break there from Michigan.
Did not look like it was going to have the strength or the power to go over the net, but you know, and it seemed like it fooled Michigan too for a second.
That one does not have the strength to get over. Hits the net square. We're tied back up at 4. Michigan pretty much back even to where they started. Going back to that last one that barely made its way over, Scotty Johnson saw it hit the net and turned around and then just rolled over and fell right behind her. Locked at 4, Paige Jones' serve. About as pretty as they come, but Ohio State answers right back. Riley Rader putting it down.
This one's going to give Ohio State an early 5-4 lead in this set. They have an overall 2-0 set lead in this game.
Rader, the sophomore, to serve here. Ohio State with the lead, as you mentioned. Jackie Bonney going to her right hand and able to get it down. That one going off the right hands of Erika Davis on the tip. But not enough strength to keep it in play. Jess Robinson will check in, as well as Brooke Humphrey, Jackie Bonney, and Hannah Grant will go grab a quick drink. We're tied at 5. Packed house here for the Blue Out in Chrysler Center. Pedraza setting up Erika Davis. Kendall Murray able to keep it alive. Paige Jones flying in from the back row. Ohio State puts it right back over. Johnson to Merzick. And she finds the ground in the back right corner. Michigan back out on top.
That one managed to go right by Gabby Gonzalez for the Ohio State team.
Brooke Humphrey back to serve again. This one headed to the back row. Pedraza to Erika Davis, blocked by Jess Robinson. Michigan extends their lead to 2. Blinding lights plays over the speakers. Brooke Humphrey set to go again, putting together a little bit of a rally here, giving her Michigan Wolverines some comfort space. Michigan blocked, and that is going to go their way. That one, they say, Moore just pushed it through the side of the net.
Yeah, definitely did not look like it was going our way from up here, but down on the court, the ref saw it differently. Seems like it went over the sides, like I said.
8 serving 5 here, 3-point lead for the Wolverines. Gonzalez. Now Moore tries again, and that one's going to go off the left arm of Brooke Humphrey and just about scrapes the rafters here in Chrysler Center out of play. Point for Ohio State. Will have 2 more substitutions. Hannah Grant and Brooke Humphrey will check back in. Or Hannah Grant checks in for Brooke Humphrey, rather.
Michigan still holding on to a 2-point lead the set, up 8-6.
Mac Pedraza's serve to Grant. Johnson. Near side, Merzick. Ohio State keeps it alive. London now blocked by Jess Robinson, and Jess Merzick with that one just too far out the right side, landed just in front of the Ohio State bench. So the lead now collapsing for Michigan. Ohio State down 7-8. Pedraza puts it over again. Jess Merzick, or Scotty Johnson rather, tried to go for a quick one out too far to the left side. We're tied back up. Michigan led by as much as 4.
Just as quickly as Michigan was able to take a strong lead, Ohio State comes crawling all the way back.
Pedraza serve to Murray. Johnson to Robinson. She puts it down. That one a little bit too short for Gabby Gonzalez to get to.
Cannot think of a better way of answering back to that Ohio State mini rally there. Allows Michigan to go right back up again, 9-8. Still early in this third set. Still anybody's set.
Now serving is Scotty Johnson. May Pertofsky checked in for Kendall Murray. 9-8. Johnson served to the back row. Pedraza sending up Londit. Johnson now to Jess Merzick. Ricochets off 2 Ohio State defenders and rolls its way out of play. Point for the Wolverines. Their lead back up to 2.
Got to keep up this momentum. They got to, keep it going. If you let Ohio State in for even a second, that's...
Johnson serve on the way. And that one's going to be an ace. That one just in front of Moore. She laid out to her right-hand side but couldn't get her hands underneath it. The lead for Michigan back up to 3 now. And they've got the momentum in this do-or-die set.
Excellent placement on that serve. Could not be happier with where that one landed.
This one goes right back at Moore. Erika Davis puts it down. That one too hot for Michigan to handle, off Jess Robinson and then off the right hand of Scotty Johnson. It'll be Hannah Gruensfelder.
Gonna take a second break to wipe up some of the sweat on the floor.
Gruensfelder dribbling with that right hand. Her serve on the way now, down 2 to Jones. Johnson right to Kendall Murray and blocked right back at her. Erika Davis just sitting right there in the middle waiting.
Ohio State crawling back yet again from being down. Only down by 1.
Paige Jones receives the serve. Pertofsky flying out of nowhere, and she's blocked this time. Emily Londit. We're back, locked at 11. Just when it seems like Michigan gets something going here, the Ohio State Buckeyes prove why they're in the top 25 rankings.
They seem to always have the answer.
Johnson to Paige Jones, kept up in the air by Londit. Gonzalez now looking for one of her own, finds the back right corner, and Ohio State takes the lead now. (12-11) in favor of the Buckeyes here in Ann Arbor. Gruensfelder serve, right to Merzick. Johnson now setting up Paige Jones from the back row. And Michigan finally catches a point there. That one off the right hand of Kylie Murr. Back 12-12. Merzick shares a quick few words with Hannah Grant. Now she's set to serve. It's going to be Gonzalez to put it in for on a play. Michigan keeps it alive. Jess Merzick now hard right hand, and that one's looked like it was off the arm of an Ohio State defender. Michigan signaling they want a tip, and Coach Rosen's going to come over and signal for a challenge.
Definitely certainly looked like Ohio State might have gotten a finger on there. Obviously, we'll see through the replay, through the challenge, but as it stands, the point did go to Ohio State right there.
In a game as close as this one, any single point could completely shift the momentum.
Every point certainly matters. I mean, just look at the first set.
If you're just tuning in, Ohio State currently up 2-0. Set number 1 went well into extras, 33-31. The final score of that one. They took set number 2 by a much more commanding lead, 25-18. Michigan looking to fight their way back in now, as flashing up in the big screen the names of some local high school volleyball teams that are in attendance tonight. You can hear some scattered cheers from all around Chrysler Center tonight. A blue out in Ann Arbor. The fans following through with that. Plenty of fans in the stands today. A few Ohio State fans trickled throughout the mix. We mentioned earlier, it's quite the weekend for Michigan athletics.
Some sort of a big football game happening tomorrow. I haven't heard much about it. Nobody's really talking about it.
There was Michigan hockey last night against Wisconsin. Michigan hockey tonight against Wisconsin as well. We're obviously here in Chrysler Center for volleyball. Volleyball back in action tomorrow in Cliff Keene's against Iowa. And then, as you said, that huge game tomorrow. A top 10, 2 undefeated teams, Michigan Wolverines versus the Michigan State Spartans in football out in East Lansing. And then follow that up on Sunday on Halloween. The Michigan Wolverines women's soccer team faces off against Penn State for the second time in about a week, this time for the Big Ten quarterfinals. As play resumes, Jess Merzik's going to serve with a 1-point lead. Londit. She's going to get a point for Ohio State. Erika Davis will check out. Londit has just been absolutely dominant right up there near the net.
Ohio State manages to tie it up 13 apiece and here in set 3.
The libero Murr puts in play. Johnson now setting up Pertosky. She gets it back. It's set back and forth. Neither team allowing the other to get too far ahead here. Michigan with a 1-point lead. Hannah Grant puts it in play now to Murr. Pedraza now setting up the right hand of Riley Rader, and the Buckeyes tie it back up. Have that same substitution rotation. Emily Londit will check out. Coming in for her is Sydney Taylor. Taylor will head to the back line to serve. 14 serving 14. Johnson setting up Paige Jones. Ohio State sends it right back at him. Londit, or Pedraza rather, kept alive. Jess Mersick now to the back row. Laying out for it is Taylor, keeping it up. Pedraza to Rader. Rader puts it back over twice in a row. May Pertosky now trying. Pedraza, Rodriguez, and she finds a gap. Point for Ohio State. All sorts of action happening within about 3 feet of that net. The ball finally makes its way to the back row for Ohio State, and they're able to put something together and set up Gabby Gonzalez.
Some excellent saves there, some excellent blocks. Seems to be a...
Have a quick stoppage of play for some maintenance on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And play is ready to resume. It's going to be Sydney Taylor wearing that number 11 jersey back to serve. 15-14, Ohio State out in front by 1. Make it 2 as Hannah Grant covered a lot of ground to try and get there, but to no avail. Ohio State with their biggest lead in the last few minutes. They're up by 2, 16-14. Sydney Taylor will serve again. Towards the back row to Hannah Grant. And Michigan unable to capitalize there. Ohio State puts it right back at them. And Michigan's going to call timeout.
Michigan goes down by 3, very unfortunately. 17-14, Ohio State lead. Really looked like Michigan was starting to put things together several times during this set, but Ohio State has answered back with a vengeance every single time.
Ohio State just 8 points away from taking set number 3 in their 3rd straight. Michigan going to have to fight back here, make some adjustments during the timeout, and come out on the attack. Head coach Jen Oldenburg in just her 2nd season with the Buckeyes, and what a season it's been. Currently number 9 in the overall rankings. Associate head coach Jill Wilson in her second season as well. Assistant coach Brian Wright in his second season. Volunteer assistant coach Nicole Fawcett in her second season. What a time to be a Buckeye coach, especially a new Buckeye coach, establishing yourself early in your career.
Ohio State has looked absolutely excellent all season, and continuing the tradition against this Michigan team that does refuse to Michigan team refuses to lie down. What I was trying to say.
With a 3-point lead, it'll be Sydney Taylor to serve here. 17-14, her serve rolls off the top of the net, but stays alive. Paige Jones now blocked. Mac Pedraza met her at the top of the net. Ohio State extends their lead to 4. Michigan's looked like they were in control of this match a few times today, but this very good Ohio State team showing why they're so highly ranked. Jackie Bonney gets one to go off the left-handed Kylie Murray and cuts the lead down to 3.
Desperately needed a point there for Michigan. Ohio State was starting to slowly pull away. Definitely needed something like that to get your head back in the game, I suppose.
With a 3-point deficit, Kendall Murray set to serve. Mac Pedraza setting up Riley Rader. Michigan getting dirty all over the floor to keep this one alive. Pedraza back to Gonzalez. Hannah Grant lays out and gets it over. Pedraza once more. Back to Rader. Off the hands of Hannah Grant. Kept up by Kendall Murray, but finally hits the ground.
Some great saves by Michigan there on that point. Unfortunately unable to go their way, but not for lack of trying, I can tell you that.
So with a 4-point comfortable lead, 4 points in this set along with 2 sets in their back pocket, Gabby Gonzalez will head to the service line. This one spiraling towards the back line to Jess Merzick. To Johnson. Jackie Bonney blocked, but Ohio State keeps it up. Jones now. Kendall Murray can't get it back over. Point for Ohio State. Their lead up to 5. And Coach Mark Rosen's going to call a timeout.
Ohio State only 5 points away from winning this set and the game. Michigan's going to have to find some answers and find them quick.
So here's some cheers from the fans as it's time for the t-shirt toss here in Chrysler Center.
Everybody loves t-shirt.
Who doesn't love free Michigan merch?
Of course.
If you're just tuning in, Ohio State is in a very comfortable position right now. They won the first 2 sets. First set by a score of 33-31. Set number 2, score of 25-18. They're up 5 here in set number 3, 20-15. 5 points away from sweeping the Wolverines, not just today, but for the second consecutive time. These teams met not too long ago, back on October 10th.
At Ohio State. That one, they took a, of course, being a sweep, they took a 3-0 set victory. And they're trying to do the same here.
As both the t-shirt toss and the timeout come to a close, we're back in action here. The junior from Marietta, Georgia, Gabby Gonzalez to serve. Right to Grant. Johnson setting up Jackie Bonney, rolling to her right side. Grant. Johnson. Paige Jones trying to find a hole. That one too far out wide right. And Ohio State now with a 6-point lead, now 4 points away from victory. Gabby Gonzalez looking to keep her team rolling here. To Merzick. Johnson. Paige Jones again likes to tip it over lightly. Hannah Grant right there to recover. Paige Jones now. Back to Kylie Murray. Pedraza. More from the back row. Grant keeps it alive. Kendall Murray. Jess Merzick trying to find a gap of her own. Ohio State refusing to break. Coming in from the back row is Gonzalez, tipped off Michigan and out of play. Ohio State knocking on the door now, 22-15 in favor of the Buckeyes.
Michigan has just not had an answer for this set. It's, you know, they took 2 very early leads, but Ohio State was able to come back, and they're starting to run with it.
As you say that, Jess Merzick to Scotty Johnson, and then to Paige Jones to wrap it up. The lead cut down to 6 for Ohio State. Michigan has some catching up to do. 22-16 is the score. Jones takes a big deep breath. Now puts the ball in play, spiraling towards the back line just too far. Here's some groans from the Michigan crowd. Ohio State now 2 points away from the second consecutive sweep over the Wolverines.
Yet another example of serve troubles tonight. So many points you wish you could have had back.
Grant to Merzick, spiraling just too far. And now it's going to be match point for Ohio State. Michigan going to have to do everything they can to scratch and claw their way back into this one. It's going to be Riley Rader back to the service line with an 8-point lead and match point here. To Kendall Murray. Paige Jones to the back row and keeps Michigan alive. Lead cut down to 7. Huge point there from the senior captain, Paige Jones.
Called this, before the set started, we did call it win or go home territory. And it is certainly what is happening here. Do or die, you need the points.
Brooke Humphrey serve to Moore. Pedraza all the way across to Moore. Blocked by Jess Merzick. And that one's going to go out of play. And that's going to do it for this one here in Chrysler Center. Ohio State sweeps the Wolverines for the second straight time. The number 9 team in the country coming out and showing all the fans here why they are ranked so highly. Unfortunate break for the Michigan Wolverines. They fought all the way through. Flashing back to set number 1, took the number 9 Buckeyes into plenty of extra time. 33-31 was the final score of that one. Set number 2 is when the Buckeyes start to got things clicking. 25-18 the final score there. And set number 3, wrapping things up, the Buckeyes take it by a commanding 8-point victory, 25-17.
So just an unfortunate, first set. You could have, so many points that could have gone either way. If Michigan could have avoided the serve struggles, once or twice, that first set definitely could have gone their way. And if you take a 1-0 set against the 1-0 set lead against the number 9 team in the country, I mean, who knows how the rest of the game could have gone.
Ohio State just proving how good the Big Ten is. And with that, that will do it for WCBN sports coverage of Michigan volleyball today. But that won't be our only coverage of anything for the weekend. Tune in tomorrow, same time, 7 p.m. as the Michigan Wolverines look to bounce back in a matchup in Cliff Keen Arena against the Iowa Hawkeyes going on currently. Also on WCBN Sports 2, the Michigan hockey team is playing Wisconsin. And tomorrow, the big matchup, the one that everyone's been talking about, the Michigan Wolverines head to East Lansing to face off against the Michigan State Spartans in a top 10 college football matchup. Both teams undefeated. Only one can come out of that one undefeated. And then on Halloween Sunday, myself, along with Ryan Dolson and Owen Crane, are going to head to the UMich Soccer Stadium to see the Michigan Wolverines face off against the Penn State Nittany Lions in the Big Ten Tournament quarterfinals. Michigan took the last matchup between the two, looking to make it 2 in a row. And again, with that, we would like to thank you for tuning into WCBN Sports coverage on YouTube. If you haven't already, click that subscribe button and ring that bell notification to make sure you're notified every time we go live so you never miss a broadcast. Again, my name has been Charlie Brigham. Alongside me, it was Ryan Dolson and Nabeel Baig. We're going to leave you like we always do with a good night and a Go Blue.